Welcome back to Career Build Series. This is episode number 118, and so we're at Spy Cakes here with Triton. And so last episode went ahead and unloaded the containers, unloaded a bunch of stuff. I made some edits on some live streams of Triton, and so we finally got the updated version of Triton here. We're gonna leave the containers alone. Been doing a bunch of container stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and load up a bunch of vehicles on Triton, head out, and we'll probably go to the volcanic islands. If you have a custom menu enabled and you shut off no clip and allow teleport, that will make sure the missions spawn close to you. So if you want a particular type of mission, for example, I would like to get some of the underwater rescues that are often around the volcanic islands here. It's good to shut that off. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to head down here to the volcanic islands. We're going to bring a bunch of Triton's toys, and that way we'll be able to hopefully get some missions down there. Triton is a home ship. It is intended to go sit out there on station and then utilize the parasite craft to do different types of missions. So we'll go ahead and jump in Triton here. We'll start her up. So she has quite a long startup procedure here. We have to actually do down engineering, which I like. So that's another thing that keeps me in the world. It's a time sink, and it is good to have some time sinks in game. It helps to influence your behavior. That's why developers will often put them in there. And so I put some in myself here. It's a little bit of a time sink to run Triton and get started fresh. When I was in the airlines, we had a cold start procedure and a hot start procedure for the jets. And so, for example, a cold start procedure took longer because the plane had been sitting all night. You had to check more things. You had to make sure, you got the aircraft up and running. If another crew had just left the plane, it was much quicker because you didn't have to do a bunch of the stuff to start her up. And so we're now started up here. And if you've been watching the live streams, you've probably seen me build a bunch of things for Triton. Especially, I worked on the Shroom drone, so that's going to go on out. I want to grab Remora. I want to get Triton ready so that we can stay out in the world for quite a while. So we're going to lift our mast up, and we'll go to regular nav lights here. We'll turn on the helm systems. I'm going to go ahead and put Triton on autopilot, and we'll start steaming down towards the volcanic islands. When I no clip or teleport and I'm in this situation where, for example, I'm running Triton, I tend to think of it as changing character. So, of course, this would be a many person operation, and I'm all by myself. So, for example, I'm going to head back to the dock here and grab Remora, and we'll dock Remora. Then I'm going to head back and I'll grab an air vehicle, and so continually go through and add more vehicles until Triton has the full complement of parasite craft. So we're going to go ahead and we'll steam down, probably down to about here. So we'll go ahead and start putting that on the autopilot. So pretty simple course here, just pretty much straight to the south. Don't really have to steer around anything. We'll go add that waypoint. We'll turn on the autopilot, and that is all set. All right, so the first parasite craft we're going to take here is the Remora. Remora is an all-weather, long-distance rescue boat for Triton, and so this is the main rescue vehicle used. There are some other rescue vehicles on Triton. They need a little bit of work, but they're really not. They really don't have many use cases. Remora is the main rescue boat if we're going to be using a boat. As you can see, we're doing over 70 knots. It has nice long range. It's stable, and it is really very versatile. The other craft, I have the man overboard boat. That is mostly for show. That is just a little electric man overboard boat that's pretty small, so it's not very stable. And that's job is pretty much if somebody were to go overboard on Triton to just be able to go rescue them and pick them up out of the water. So pretty basic there. So we'll go ahead here and we'll take a look at Remora. So as you can see, Triton's 12 o'clock. You can see the smoke. The smoke does make it a little bit easier to find Triton. So we're doing about 40 knots. Triton is doing about 18 right now. So, we're going about double Triton speed. So I kind of try to time this out to do the slower craft first, and then we'll do the faster craft. So we're going to be bringing in Remora. Remora is actually faster than S.H.R.O.O.M. But S.H.R.O.O.M, we can have S.H.R.O.O.M come over. We probably should get S.H.R.O.O.M moving because S.H.R.O.O.M needs to stay within 20 kilometers of Triton. So I think we still should be good. So we're going to go ahead and we will attach to Triton. We'll load up Remora. And then what we'll probably do is, if you've been watching the live streams, I've been working on Shroom. So Shroom stands for Ship-Based Remotely Operated Observation Machine. And so that is pretty much just a camera platform. A lot of it is me testing, making some microcontrollers so that I can have some more drones. And so I built a drone control station in Triton, so that's all installed. And then that will allow me to make some more microcontrollers for just, having a drone control station as well. So we're kind of going across the waves here, which is the hardest and roughest way to travel. But the wind is what the wind is, so we're going to go ahead and hook up a Triton here. And then what we'll do is I'll jump at the drone station and we'll send Shroom on its way. It's not very fast. It only goes about 30 knots, but it needs to stay within 20 kilometers of Triton. So we'll go ahead and we'll get Shroom moving. And then what we'll probably do is grab the Chickadee, and that will give Triton all of her parasite craft. And so part of this is just, demonstrating and testing how, even if Triton's underway, I've used Remora quite a bit in previous build series, and so Remora can go out and do some of these rescues and then reattach to Triton as necessary. So we'll go ahead and we'll get ready to dock with Triton. So there's a little arm, and right in front of me right here there are a couple connectors, and so there's dual connectors that keeps it from pitching forward and back. And so the way it works is if the front connector is not connected, the rear connector cannot connect, and that way you always grab the correct connector. So I went over that in the live stream. So Triton's going about 20 knots, so I'm doing 30. So it's about 18 knots, so a little bit less than 20. So I'm starting to slow down. If you look, I extended the arm there. And so now I'm doing about 5-6 knots faster than Triton. So we're slowly catching up. And so we want to be careful here, especially with the seas kind of going transversely here. We have to be a little bit careful. They're beam us. And so I'm going to come off to the right of Triton here on the starboard side. And I'm just going to bump up against. And bingo, we grab. Very simple. And so once both connectors have grabbed, we're good. I'm going to go ahead and we'll stow the light bar. We can shut off the engines and the master power. And I will go ahead and jump on Triton. There we go. All right, good, and we'll raise all the way up. And we'll bring Remora on board. So you can see these little parts jumping up and down. That is part of the connection system. So they're free floating. That's how the connector works for the air vehicles on the pad. And so once this gets all the way in and I let go of the controls, it will lock the hard point in the center. And that will also offer power to Remora. We can also refuel Remora here, so we're going to need to do that at some point. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll see you back at Remora, and we'll grab the Shroom. All right, so here we are with Shroom, and Shroom is here at Remora. It's remotely operated, so I'll meet back up with you guys on Triton. All right, so back on Triton, this is a new addition. We have another helipad up front. This is mainly for Shroom. So let's go ahead. We're going to go down to the drone control room, and we'll start hooking up the Shroom, and controlling that, it will fly and meet up with Triton here. So let's jump in here. Each drone's going to have its own code. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the code for Shroom. We're going to go ahead. Master power is on. Looks like it tipped over, so we'll go ahead and start it and AP, and I should hopefully be able to fix it. There we go. Okay, we're up and running here. Let's take off. All right, so I'm going to set an altitude here. So the altitude is going to be 250 feet. It's fine. We'll go altitude hold. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and we'll put in for the rear pad. So that is 6785. So it works via radio. It's constantly sending Triton's position to Shroom so that it can track it. It's actually 85 is the rear pad. So we'll go on there. And we'll go to bearing, we'll go to radio. It's going to give us a 193. We're going to put in 193, 193. That's going to be our heading hold. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll hit nav, and it will automatically fly to Triton. So we're going to let Shroom do its thing. What is that? It's a bird. It's a plane. It is a flying mushroom. So there is Shroom. As you can see, Shroom has caught up with us here. So It is reading the position of, I believe I put in the front pad, so it's going to read the GPS coordinates of this front pad, and it's going to head right there. A little bit of wind going on now. We're just going to let Shroom kind of hover above us. I got us a little bit lower on money than I would like. As you can see, we're down to $21,000, so we're pretty low on money, but we're going to be able to do some missions nonetheless. So we actually just hit our waypoint here, and Shroom has caught up with us in that time. So let's go ahead down, and we will finish the docking procedure for Shroom. So need to work on this a little bit more. I'd like to be able to, ideally fully underway, I'd like Shroom to be able to dock. I'm going to need near perfect p-values on there and PID tuning, essentially, to get that to dock while we're underway, especially with some wind. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to finish the docking procedure. So what I'll do here is I'm going to take off nav, radio, altitude hold, and we'll leave... what's our current heading? 5-1. So what you do to... we're not actually going to invert it. We're just going to add 90 to that. So that'll be 141. So 141 we'll put in here. So 141 is going to be our new heading here. And so we're going to turn 90. I'm going to go ahead over here, and we will switch to this. As you can see, this is the lower downward-facing camera. That's our docking camera. So I'm going to actually add, we'll do about another 15 degrees off of that. So let's actually do 120. And so we'll get ready to dock. And we'll go ahead and go down. So you start to hear the rotors. So the refresh on those big monitors is much slower than the small monitor. As you can see, they're kind of freaking a little bit here, but the lower monitor is doing much better. So, as you can imagine, they're much bigger screens, taking up more information. So, come right down, and I just want to put there's a distance sensor in the center of the pad that will light it up. Oh, a little bit fast there. A little bit slow on the refresh rate. Game's chugging just a little bit right now. And we'll just go and get close here, and we'll dock. There we go. All right, so we're grabbed now. And so I'm just going to yaw a little bit, see if we're fully grabbed. We are. If I go ahead and I go into third person here, you can notice we are docked. And so this is how the system works. These essentially float, and so it grabs on. It's the same system as the rear pad. So what we can do is we can go ahead and we can shut down the engine. And as you can see, it will settle. This allows us to go up and down with the waves. The last thing you want to do is have the game try to pull objects through each other. We'll go ahead and we'll shut the master power off here. That's going to, actually, we want that on for a second. What I want to do is I'll make sure all my modes get reset here, or information is going to be potentially sent to Mushroom, and it will remember that because it's always in the world. So we want to make sure we shut all that off, and then we can power down here. All right, and so Mushroom is on board. So, unfortunately, I let us get pretty low on money. I did want to go get the chickadee, but the chickadee is more money than we have at present. So, what I'm going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we will take a nap. And we'll grab a new mission. Alright, so we had a nice little sleepy poo there, and we've got a mission. So, again, I've talked about this. If you shut off teleport and no clip, it will cause the missions to spawn close to you. So, it's a nice system because, for example, if, I like to have missions far away, and sometimes I like to have them close together. That will get me the content I want around the volcanic islands. Just shut off no clip and fast travel if you'd like them to be close, and if you want them to be further away, you can shut that off and they can spawn anywhere. They don't spawn up in the Arctic. For example, if we're down here, we don't get them in the Arctic, so there must be a range. So what we'll actually do here is, if we look at this, we have a search area, and that's the whole point of S.H.R.O.O.M. S.H.R.O.O.M, again, is ship-based, remotely operated observation machine. The point of S.H.R.O.O.M is to go out as an observation platform. We can either not move Triton, or Triton only moves at 18 knots. S.H.R.O.O.M's a little bit faster. Plus, the higher you are in altitude, the further you're going to be able to see. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to set a marker right in the middle of the search area. Now, we could probably actually go out and look on Triton and maybe see pretty close to this, but we're going to send S.H.R.O.O.M out there, and S.H.R.O.O.M's going to do its job. It's going to help find this for us. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to set an altitude of, we'll do 250 feet. We'll go ahead and fire up S.H.R.O.O.M. So there goes the RPS. We have to watch the fuel a little bit. Fuel is pretty good, though, on this, so it's not too bad. We're going to hit AP. All right. Next thing we'll do is disconnect, and we'll hit altitude hold, and that's going to head up to the altitude. All right. Next thing I want to do here is we're going to go, and I want to do GPS. GPS is going to give me the bearing 051 once I put it in, actually. There we go. 018. So 18. That's going to be our heading, and so we're going to do heading hold. All right. That's going to give us a heading hold of 018. Then we're going to hit nav, and it's going to start to fly towards that waypoint. As you can see, we have cameras all around. I can zoom this middle camera here with my zooming, and I can also go up and down. So I can do cam down, up, left, and right. So this is part of the gimbal update, which was awesome. I really think that was one of the best updates they've done recently. And so that's really cool that we can move this middle camera around. These are not the same size camera, so we can't move the sides. But again, we're going to be using the front mainly as our view platform. And so actually, I want to go up a little bit more. Let's go up to 500 feet. So we'll gain a little altitude here. As you can see, we're doing 56 knots. So we're doing a good fast speed there. And that is, you know, going to get us out there. It's quite a bit faster than Triton. I still have to index that gauge, but... All right, so we're going up to there, and so just going to be looking around here. We're currently 0.8 minutes away. So we're 0.7 nautical miles. So, you know, new players will often say, oh, the distances are so long in stormworks. This is how, that right there is, you know, we're probably about here. That's about 0.8. This is only a couple miles, nautical miles. So this whole thing is probably like at most 5 miles across, probably even less than that. So this area really isn't all that huge. So we are 0.3. So, you know, the reason these numbers look so close is we're around 60 knots, which, you know, 60 knots, 1 mile a minute. So these numbers are going to be pretty close to one another. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the search area. I haven't seen it yet. We're going to extend the search area all the way up to here. And we're going to put in the new one. There we go. And so now it's going to, we're 1.3 nautical miles. So this whole ring is about 3 nautical miles across. So that's it. So the diameter is 3 nautical miles. So it's really not that far of a distance. All right, so I'm just going to be looking around. It's very bright and a little bit hard to see here, but, you know, the lower res monitors, but we should be able to pick it up at some point here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take Remora out, and Remora will actually do the rescue. So Shroom also makes it a little bit easier to find the area. If you think about it, when we're on a small boat, we're very close to the sea, we really can't see very much. But we have this brightly colored, remotely operated vehicle that will be hovering right above the rescue when we find it. So still looking around here for this. Currently about 0.4 away. All right, so we are 0.3, so we're ready to do our turn. So the next leg of the turn is I'm going to come down here. I'm going to set the waypoint. So I kind of do like a triangle pattern. All right, so I have found the rescue. So here it is right here. I just saw it right there. Bingo. So what I want to do here is I'm going to look at my current position should be pretty close to here. So let's set the waypoint there. I can't see my current position right now, but I'm just going to stop us really quickly. It needs to be a little bit closer here. But there is the rescue. So we definitely can see the rescues. So I think it's back here a little bit more. So that's good to know that we can actually see the rescues. I wasn't sure if it would spawn because they spawn in when you get close. So let's see. 139. Let's change that. 1339. Beautiful. So that's really cool. This back before they had the strobes, it was hard to see these. So that should be Triton. I just think I saw Triton. There it is right behind us there, so I'm going to have to kind of guess a little bit here, so it's probably up here. And then 344, let's try that, 344. So I don't need to get, so actually Triton is right there. We don't have to get perfectly close, but it's going to help us using Shroom to find it. So what I really should do is put some lights on Shroom. So Shroom should have some strobe lights. But as you can see there, we are 0.1. We're really close to it now. So there we go. Bingo. So Shroom is going to level out and stop. And that's perfect. So we're good. So we're going to jump out of our seat here. Let Shroom just hover. Didn't take too long to fly. If we look on the map, we're about here. So what we did was cut up. I missed it on the way up. I wasn't really looking. So we came up, came down here, cut across, and that's when we saw it. So, I saw it. And so let's go ahead. We're gonna take Remora, and we need to get this rescue done. All right, so let's push out Remora. And we'll lower it down. Push it a little bit more there. Let's go up again. Let it swing. There we go. Now we can go down. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to check to make sure we're in the drinky poo. We are. Probably actually a little bit up would be nice. There we go. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll jump on Remora. Remora, luckily, is a light bar. And we can disconnect. And we'll reverse. All right, we'll do 2 for the light bar, and I forget my own controls here. It's been a while. 1 is spotlights, so. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for Shroom. Like I said, Shroom does not have any lights on it, but I should be able to spot it. So it's right over here. So I'll put some strobes there. I actually see the rescue from here. It's pretty funny. But there's Shroom. So when I put some strobes on Shroom, hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit more easily. As you can see, Shroom is sitting right there above the rescue. And so that is proof of concept proven that Shroom can go out there and find these things. You know, now that it's dark, I can see it on the horizon. I literally couldn't see it earlier. So I wonder if the strobes have some sort of timing on them. I'm not sure. It is a lifeboat. Maybe those lights turned on after it got a certain darkness. So maybe that's why I missed it in the first try. But as you can see, we're over and we can go do this rescue here. So let's go ahead and look at our closest hospital. So that's it right here, St. Alexander's. That's the hospital boat. Theoretically, I could try to do that, but I think it's a lot safer to go here. We do have a port to go in there. So I think that's a better place. And what we can do is despawn the boat, and we can go ahead and spawn a land vehicle. So we're going to go out full speed here, is 70 knots, 70 plus knots, as you can see. There is Shroom up and above the rescue. So pretty cool there. Fuel-wise, we're looking at about 156. Okay, that's because we're angled. It says pounds. I never converted it to pounds. It's gallons, I believe I have in there. So there it goes. As you can see, you know, as we were turning, it was sloshing the fuel more towards the fuel sensor, the fuel meters. So we'll go ahead and we'll go down to about 65 feet here. Uh-oh. Don't crash. Don't crash. There we go. Oh, come on. All right. So I increased the p-values to try to get some faster speeds out of this, and as you can see, it's a little bit, rambunctious. So let's go switch to the bottom monitor here, the landing monitor. All right, so it's also getting nighttime here, so we can turn on the infrared, which I don't think I hooked up actually. So we're going to go about 30 degrees to the left. I think it was 120 last time, actually. So we'll go 120, see if that sets us up for the angle in the pad. I don't necessarily have the lights hooked up there. A little bit more. So let's go 130. And so we're hovering right above the pad here, as you can see. It's a little bit off. I have to get it perfect to get it right on. So it's not a big deal. I just have to manually land a little bit, which I kind of like, having to do some manual work anyways. So 30 degrees is actually perfect. I had it right in my mind. It was just Triton probably drifted a little bit with the currents. So let's go down. I want to go down slowly. We have to worry about the refresh rate on the monitors, so you have to figure this is all being sent via radio. So not only do we have the normal refresh rate of the monitors, but we have to worry about the signal, it being radioed across. So, and there will be lights. You know, a lot of this is testing for me. You know, I like getting this in a career game where I can test it, and so that's a big part of it. I need to make sure I do the disconnect. There we go. So I forgot to reset the disconnect. It will auto reset in future versions. So we are connected and all set to go here. So let's go ahead and shut the engines off. I want to make sure I deselect all my modes again. That's important. And then we can go ahead and shut down and get out. So Shroom is on board. Beautiful, beautiful, and beautiful. So let's go back and we'll finish this rescue. So we'll jump on the helm. All right, the lights will just shut off. I forget what key I had them as. That's why. I was pressing the wrong key. Alright, so at 70 knots, we should be able to get there pretty quickly here. So we're going to do some dead reckoning. So we have a volcano there. And we know that 140 is this heading right here, because that's how we just literally landed on the pad. And so if we look off into the distance there, we can see some islands. So we're going to go do all dead reckoning. These are the big islands I'm looking at. So I want to steer just to the north of them. Actually, we'll go just south of them. So we'll head south of them. We have a compass. This is all we need. You know, need to remember for thousands of years, people traveled via compass. It still works. You know, I had to do some basic navigation stuff for my degree in aeronautical science. You know, we needed to be able to travel long distances with compasses. We had a cool course called Transcontinental Flight Nav. And part of it was the history of using celestial nav, using stars. I'm curious how the skybox is in game. It's probably not something we could actually navigate via. But as you can see, we're just going to use Dead Reckoning. So Dead Reckoning is we're looking at landmarks, and then we're utilizing a map to navigate. So if you see here, we have this spire of rock right here. That is this. And so right here is the spire of rock. And so if we went 180 south, we'd get there. So a little bit east of south. So we'll head just a little bit east of south, as you can see, southeast, a little bit east of south. And that's going to bring us right where we need to go. So we don't need all this complex GPS navigation. You know, it's very much a modern thing, you know, and so I put some keypads on here. I think I do have some sort of nav system going in here eventually. I don't think I put it in yet, so we'll put in a bearing nav system later. But as you can see, I don't really need it. And so if you learn the basics of how to do some of this navigation stuff, it really makes it easy. A lot of new players, you know, one of their complaints is that there's no GPS in game. Of course there is. You could go in the workshop and use somebody else's GPS system if you want. There are moving maps. People have put out a lot of work in the workshop. You can use that. I think that's a better system. And you also, if you learn the basics, it makes the other stuff very easy. And I find it rewarding to learn some of this stuff. So I would, you know, I kind of challenge some new players to try to learn the compass first. If you learn the compass first, it makes navigation really easy. And as you can see, these look like immense, huge distances, but they're really short. Remember, this whole diameter of this was 3 nautical miles. That is about 3 nautical miles, maybe a little bit more. So we're really not talking very large distances here. So we're going to head south a little. As you can see, there is an island. So where is there an island out here? Dead Reckoning. We're looking. There's an island here and there's an island here. Okay, so let's do some more information. So let's look. We can see a large mountain range. Large mountain range right about here. So as you can see, we can start to utilize these little bits of islands and terrain to get ourselves there. Of course, if we're in the fog, you're going to need to use something like a bearing system. You know, I made that my beginner series. I made a bearing system. So now, as you can see we have mountains to our right and we have mountains to our left. So let's look back at our map. We're heading just west of south. So we're heading west of south. And we have mountains to our right and mountains to our left. So it looks like, hey, we're headed right into the cove that we need to go into to bring our rescue in. So pretty basic Dead Reckoning navigation. So this person's losing some health. I do have one more hit on the health pack here. And we can, we're going to spawn a car or something, and we'll go ahead and utilize that. So we have about 21 grand, so we have enough money that I can leave this ship in the world. I'll just tie it off at the dock, and then we can go ahead and take it. So now we have another, you know, ancient piece of navigation equipment, a lighthouse. So in real life, lighthouses, the time it takes for the light to go around are all different, and that allows you to know what lighthouse you're looking at by the timing. Now, I doubt that's simulated in game, but for example, we used to be flying around Florida, look for the St. Augustine light, and you could time how long it took to go around. If you timed the New Smyrna lighthouse, it had a different timing than St. Augustine. So you could tell if that was St. Augustine or if that was New Smyrna by how long it took before the light. So what you would do is you'd look at the light, wait for it to come around, and when it came, you would then time it. So ding, start your timer, wait for it to come around, and then right here you would end your time. You would consult the chart, you would look at your time, and bingo, now you know that it is that lighthouse. That is Raptor Lighthouse. And so you know where you are. So it's actually pretty easy to navigate in game. You just, you know, when in doubt, utilize some old school navigation. You know, people, this is how they navigated for thousands of years, and it worked, and it still works. You know, it didn't lose its navigation ability. You know, I find a lot of people have lost their ability to navigate because of GPSs now. You know, the people have lost the understand how to read a map. These are life skills that are still very useful and helpful. And, you know, people will panic nowadays if their GPS goes out for whatever reason. If you know some basic, you know, navigation and how to read a map, you know, you don't have to worry anymore. And it's nice not having to worry. You know, for example, you know, everybody should have a map book in their car of, you know, some of these map books are enormous. They'll take up a quarter of, you know, they'll take up many states. Let's put it that way. And so, you know, in the US. And so you can have one map book and have it really show you, you know, quite a range. And as long as you have that in your trunk, right, the map book never runs out of battery. It never loses RAM, which is what is it? Random authentication integrity monitor, something like that. It's, I forget exactly what it is. That's for GPS. So if you lose, that's essentially if you lose GPS signal. And if you lose GPS signal or something happens or you don't have an updated GPS card in your GPS in your car, all these things can contribute to you getting lost. If you know how to read a map book, bingo, you're back in the map book and you know where you're going. And it is never fun to be lost, so it's definitely a cool life skill. So I have not purchased this. What are we talking here money-wise? I meant to purchase this. I don't think I have the cash for this right now. Now, 30 grand. I don't have the cash for this. So it's actually not that far. You know, again, kind of the thought process is, you know, you look at these, you look at the map and, you know, it looks like a mountain, so your brain's kind of like, oh, that's enormous. You know, in real life, one mountain could be this whole continent. You know, in game, everything's kind of compressed and shortened, so we really don't have that big of a range. So this is actually a pretty short distance. Again, this from here to here was 3 nautical miles. That's a short distance. We'll walk it off, and I will see you guys when we get there. All right, so I just dropped the person off here. So it was actually a really short run. You know, I took a phone call and walked over here. So, you know, that's one thing to consider, especially new players will get overwhelmed by the size of the maps. They look huge. They're really not. Things are pretty close distances. And even if you're traveling quote unquote slow, like 20 knots in a boat, in the beginner career build series, I go over like getting a boat up to like 35 knots, and you'll realize you can actually traverse a lot of your area really quickly in the beginning. So, you know, going 70 knots in Remora, that was a really quick trip down here. All dead reckoning, utilizing navigation, utilizing points of interest, POIs, things like rocks and islands, and the compass and the map. That's all you really need to navigate. I try to keep my stuff a little bit simpler on that way just because, you know, if you don't sharpen your tools, they're going to get dull. And so my navigation tools need to be sharpened now and again. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's kind of cool using some of these new pieces of equipment we have, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.